Hey there, welcome back to It's Just a Paper Cut Media, where small cuts of news can turn into a major amputation if ignored. On this channel, you're going to find me reviewing articles that show up in my algorithm or videos or any kind of media that could be easily overlooked and, if ignored, turn into a bigger deal. I know a lot of our media nowadays is overshadowed by very high powered social media influencers and just chaos and mainstream media news. So I want to bring to you guys some smaller articles that I see that I think are have some relevance and are worth talking about. This article here, there's no such thing as a laser resistant weed. Says company employing dozens of NVIDIA GPUs to fry weeds with lasers from above. So this one is for my farmers out there. And I have to tell you, I found this really cool personally. I know that, NVIDIA is coming to the United States to start production here. I'm not sure when, but that was kind of a deal that Trump worked out with the guys over at NVIDIA. So we also know that AI is something that is kind of threatening the future of our workforce. And we don't know yet the impacts of how that's going to affect all of us in our daily jobs. So overall, I saw this article as a pretty positive thing for AI, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys to see what you think. One of the factors that it did talk about was so the company Carbon Robotics has developed an AI-powered laser system. And what it is a tractor-pulled module using dozens of NVIDIA graphic processing units, also known as GPUs, and AI to identify and zap weeds. It is able to, up at this point, identify up to 10,000 weeds per minute. So I thought that was really cool because I live on 15 acres and I have more weeds than I care to think about. And dealing with them is kind of overwhelming. And this here, I feel, has a lot of nice alternatives to dealing with weeds in the traditional sense that we have been over the last few decades. Obviously, that being the opportunity for a chemical-free weed control. It highly targets lasers to kill the weeds, and it can zap weeds in rows without damaging the crops. So that's a really big deal because most crops are planted in rows. And I will show you guys some video at the end of this that kind of shows you what it looks like, what it does, and it's pretty darn cool. It has a data capture collection for improvement. So as of right now, it's able, it's basically learning itself. So it's doing what AI does, but for tractor equipment. The more it's used, the more it's gaining knowledge and information as to how to target specific weeds without harming any of the crops. As of right now, it has over 65 million images that it's using to learn and train itself on how to zap these weeds. So it's pretty cool. Another benefit, or maybe not a benefit, maybe a downfall, but that's up to you guys to decide what you think, is the reduction in manual labor and waste. So it reduces the need for large hand weeding crews addressing labor shortages in the ag sector. So we all know, many of us, even if you don't follow a whole lot, we all know what's going on right now as far as changes in our country with my immigrants being sent back. So that is creating a big shortage in the ag sector. And I do believe also, separate from that, it's a very manual job. It's very long hours, labor intensive. And, as technology has come into our world right now and people are finding other ways to make income that involves a lot less labor, I won't get into detail, but I think some of them you guys could figure it out. But it's hard to find people that want to go out and get sweaty and dirty and work, sometimes sun up to sun down to process these crops. So this is eliminating the need for some of that. But with all things good, there are, other sides to it that is worth taking a look at. So one of the potential obstacles is the high cost and accessibility of the equipment. It costs significantly more than conventional ag equipment. And the question is, could that lead to possibly really setting a divide between smaller farms and larger corporate farms, being able to afford the equipment on the larger end and not on the smaller end, and kind of creating a bigger divide than there already is in that sector. The other potential hazard is safety and liability. So it does use very high powered lasers that are zapping these weeds. And you have humans that are still, it's not completely autonomous at this point. So it is kind of, there is some of it being manned by people to move this along. So there's people, animals. I can tell you from personal experience, even if it's lasers or whatever it is, they do get caught up in the mix, and you find it in your hay bale. And also beneficial insects, the bees. I know we're having a huge problem with our bee population and where it's going, and bees aren't the only ones that pollinate, but there are other beneficial insects that are going to be underneath those lasers when it's getting zapped. Maybe in the future it'll be able to identify insects and stuff like that, or the image of a human hand and stop. I don't know, but it is at this point still kind of a potential hazard. The other potential hazard is for fires. A lot of farming, especially with all the data centers going up to power this AI, it's dry, it's arid, and it increases the possibility for fires. A little spark off of the laser. And like I had just mentioned, that as autonomy of these things gets more and more significant and less manpower is needed, if you have this, tractor pulling it autonomously with really nobody kind of around because you don't need it, and there is a spark, how long would it be till somebody noticed that fire take off? Another impact is, and this is more coming from critics, they feel that burning the weeds could negatively impact the soil health and biodiversity. They believe it'll affect the microbial system and create soil sterility. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, I guess it is an argument. However, the other alternative is what we're doing now, which is loading it up with chemicals. And yeah, although we're not burning the weed and it, disintegrates, what they were saying is, if it just disintegrates, it doesn't go back into the soil. And because weeds actually can be beneficial. Like everybody goes and kills dandelions. They're actually really beneficial to the soil. And what it tells you is that there is a deficiency in your soil that it's wanting to put back in there. That's why they keep coming back. So, but what I'm hearing is, well, if you're burning it to kill it, as opposed to spraying a chemical on it, yeah, it may die and sit there on the ground, but then it's got this chemical on it and it goes right back into the soil. So it is a good argument, but you got to take the good with the bad. And I don't know, is this one a paper cut, or is this could this become an amputation? I'd love to hear your guys' comments underneath and what you think about it. But let's take a look at a few videos that I found that really show you guys what this does and the technology behind it. So let's check this out. Okay, so this first one here is by the actual company that is making this product, Carbon Robotics. They call it the laser weeder. So it just gives you kind of a close-up of what it does, and check it out. So as you can see, as I was talking about how everything is in rows, you can see where the lasers are able to come down and zap around it in the row. You can kind of hear it sizzling too. It's pretty neat. So this next one is, it looks like a farmer who was able, he has an organic carrot farm, was able to kind of trial out this system. And it's interesting what he has to say about how he has always had to specifically treat organic carrots. So let's take a look.
First 5 years, we had people laying on beds, being pulled behind tractors, pulling weeds. Last
Manual
year, we
labor.
added a carbon robotics laser. The machine itself is pretty cool. It's taking pictures and it can decipher between what a carrot looks like in a very early stage and what a weed looks like. It also
So I don't know how many of you have ever grown carrots before, but you know, obviously carrots grow under the ground, so it doesn't even have the opportunity to be identified as anything other than its carrot top, the green that's coming up. So again, the ability for it to be able to know what that little green coming up is, as opposed to a weed growing next to it, is amazing. Plus the fact that, you know, being organic, they can't spray, so they don't really have an option to just go out there and douse everything down with chemicals. And that's why he was saying everything has to be, you know, hand picked, because they can't spray if it's organic. So I'd imagine to him this is like,
can look within a quarter-inch underground and find that weed that is not coming up.
quarter
yet
inch
and
under the
burn it.
ground,
You can
it'll
see
find
the clouds of smoke around it. You can see the lights if it's dark. Their practice is unique, so they get to use unique
Wonder where
types of
they are.
equipment to better their operation.
I have talked about the autonomous tractor to my uncle and my dad, and they think I'm crazy, but I would love to have an autonomous thing on the carbon robotics, because we have guys that are running 24 hours a day at 0.2.
So that's another thing is, you know, this is probably there's going to be a little bit of a divide between generations, because, you know, the older generation is just like, we've been doing this for years, it works, we can, you know, make it happen. I apologize for my turkey in the background. Anyway, so, you know, and the labor, I mean, he just said he has guys 24 hours a day on this. So, you know, as these become more autonomous and less crew is needed, you know, for a small farm, if they're able to bring this on, it could be kind of life-changing for them.
To 1 mile an hour. It is a slow, agonizing job, but you have to do it. So something autonomously on something like that would be incredible.
That's crazy seeing
nice
that
thing
John
about
Deere
organic
with nobody
carrots,
behind
the
it.
demand is always going to be there. You need a big quantity of it, and it's hard to grow big quantity without being able to use sprayers and being able to use regular chemicals. For the first 5 years, we had people laying on beds, being pulled behind tractors, pulling weeds. Last year,
crazy.
we added a carbon robotic.
So anyway, firsthand from someone who's used it, you know, especially being an organic farmer that can't spray, managing those weeds, I can't even imagine. So this next one here is just another kind of demo of it operating and kind of the sound of it. There's something you have to appreciate about just hearing a tractor being pulled and knowing all that goes into it. But let's check it out. Carbon robotics. Look at the smoke coming off from underneath where the lasers are. But see, look at the rows too. You could see exactly where it's going around the crop, zapping it. And to me, you know, they're going to show a close-up of the soil right here. I don't really see a huge impact on the soil itself. It does look dry and arid, which would make me think of, you know, possibly a fire. But other than that, I mean, where would a fire go on that? I guess it could, but it's pretty clean. And then check this out. They're going to show you a close-up of the plant. It just completely went over, decimated all the weeds around it. You know, it's positive to see something that is AI that is actually promoting farming on our end and not finding ways to take it away. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think that this is something that you would like to see kind of develop in the future, or do you think that there's too many risks involved? I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you like this content today, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll be back with another article soon. Take care, guys.